This video is about how I got into ketosis and starting to live WildFit. If you didn't watch my ketosis video, have a look at that first perhaps. It's probably going to be like up there, check it out. I've essentially had chronic digestive issues since birth, so naturally this is something I've been driven to figure out and feel better, etc. And on my journey, one of the first things that really made a big difference about 10 years ago was learning about Chinese medicine and Chinese food therapy. I also had asthma at the time, and by changing diet with some of that as input, I've never had any issues with asthma since. And also I did get diagnosed with Irritable Bowel Syndrome. That between you and I, that just seems to be a diagnosis for, we don't actually know what the F is going on, but something is going on. So I managed to improve some of those symptoms, and I found something-ish that worked for quite a while, something that seemed to be okay in terms of having a fairly busy lifestyle and traveling for work and that sort of thing. But it's not been great, and over time the symptoms have, they started getting a bit worse. So, as I said in my previous video, if you didn't check it out already, I then started looking at diet again this year. And I discovered something that's actually been really substantial for me. So even if you don't have conditions like IBS, maybe you can resonate with some of the symptoms that I've had, like low energy, feeling lethargic, a bit sluggish, brain fog. I've had quite a lot of abdominal discomfort and bloating and inflammation in my body as well. So not awesome, gotta be honest. But if you know chronic pain, then you kind of know that you get on with life, and in some ways it's a blessing in the sense that you learn to live life to the fullest, more so than somebody else perhaps, I don't know. So I embarked on a journey this year to really change my diet properly, completely full out, no half measures. Because there's been a few things in my life that I really struggled to let go of, even though I kind of made slightly better versions of them, like bread. And I mean real bread, not what some people call the white fluffy stuff that is in supermarkets that's so heavily processed and full of sugar. But yeah, real bread. And having a fairly busy lifestyle, it's been really useful to at least not have to cook one meal, like a main meal, and have sandwiches with some nice stuff on. So there's little practicalities around that's been challenging for me, and maybe you can resonate with some of that. And growing up, to be honest, I've been a sugar monster. I grew up on bread with Norway's equivalent to Nutella. I was a very picky eater. So bless my mum, at least she got that in me. And later on in life, I did discover developing symptoms that are related to overgrowth of candida and that sort of thing. So I started this program. Didn't really know what I was getting myself into. But it's essentially about getting true food freedom. So actually being able to be free to choose what I'm going to eat and how I'm going to eat, and not be a victim of my patterns and victim of what the media is manipulating us to eat, and our relationships to food and bodies, etc. So you might be familiar with these guys. Have you ever heard of the food devil and the food angel? Are you aware of them? They're usually there in the background, so maybe now that I mention it, they might be coming to the foreground. So let's play out something, see if you've ever had this. So here's the food devil. Oh, come on, you've had such a hard day's work, you deserve a treat. So why don't we stop by that shop on the way and get a brownie or something, you deserve it tonight. No. That's just not good for us, and we're going to have a meal when we come home, and yes, it's delicious, but I feel bad afterwards. Oh, but you deserve it. You worked so hard. Nobody will know. It's just one little brownie. You still have space to eat the meal and everything. Nobody needs to know. Yeah, but don't listen to that one. We can, go for a walk or get some fresh air, maybe some fruit or something. Some fruit, that's not going to cut it at all. Come on, you really need something to pick your energy up, etc. Does that sound familiar at all? So that's going to come in all sorts of shapes and flavors and different dialogues. And in the end, you have to choose to use willpower. Listen to the angel or listen to the devil and deal with perhaps guilt and other symptoms afterwards if you find yourself listening to the devil. In either case, it's just friggin' exhausting. And this is one of the things that I was hoping to free myself of. So that's part of food freedom to me. And that's where WildFit came in. And after just 8 weeks of that program, the improvements and benefits I've experienced are so massive. So let me share a few things. I wrote them down. So more energy, improved sleep, feeling stronger, and I got much more endurance as well. No more digestive pains, no more bloating, which is great. And other things like I could just breathe more freely. Never really expected that to begin with, but yeah, it's awesome. And also reduce inflammation in my body. I don't have the same aches and pains in the way that I had before, for sure. But also other things like food just tastes better. Like my taste buds have had a nice reset, and I've experienced this before, but not to this extent. And also I just have a much greater enjoyment of eating, of having meals, making the meals and so on. In the past for me, eating was a bit of a chore. I remember as a kid I would just stop eating because I was fed up with it. I was bored with it. So to me that's just amazing, and that's just after 8 weeks. And I could really feel like things in my gut is healing, so all of that stuff is just continuing to help me out, so that's awesome so far. So of course you're going to be wondering, what is WildFit? Well, I'm not going to say too much because WildFit as a challenge seems to be really effective when you don't know that much, so that week by week there's an element of surprise, and also it breaks things down so that you don't feel like you're climbing a mountain, that you're really focusing on one step at a time. But at a high level, WildFit to me is about attaining food freedom, as I talked about earlier. It is solid nutritional advice together with behavioral psychology and a lot of awareness of yourself and the food devils, for example, awareness of the food industry, marketing and media, and awareness of ways of eating as well, and so on. So without going into much more detail about what WildFit is and what it isn't, only I'll say, because I did a video on ketosis, it's not quite like the keto diet. There's some elements that they overlap, but I wouldn't make an equation there. So instead, I'll give you a link where you can do a free masterclass with the founder of this program, so you can get an impression for yourself about it. So check it out. One last thing, if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe, and also you can find me on social media. All the best.